Hi everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Stack News. I'm Mary Brancasio, and I'm joined here with Ryan Finch, Gerald Marafiotti, and Nicholas Serrato. Tonight we'll be talking about the highlights from the town hall debate that was on October 16th. And for our first topic, we will be talking about unemployment.
Right, so one of the first audience members came out claiming that he was a student, he was looking to join the job market, and he was worried, as many people are, as we are right now, as potential graduating seniors coming up very shortly, as to whether or not they're going to be able to get a job in the job market. Now, this is a really big issue that is facing everybody that's hoping to graduate at some point very soon, and that's, are they going to get a job coming out of college? I mean, we're told you grow up, you get through high school, you do well, you get into a good college, get good grades, specifically to get a good job. And now we're finding out that our economy is not doing well enough to afford us a job. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous, and I think that we need a change, and that's what Governor Romney, potential presidential candidate, is hoping to give us, and hoping to afford us an opportunity to find a job in a better economy.
Well, when Jeremy, that was the kid's name who asked, when he asked the question, Obama had 5 points, and he said how he was going to give us jobs. But Romney, however, was just like, I'm going to hire you, Jeremy, but he didn't say his plans.
Right. Did Obama, though, did he really get into the specifics, or did he do what Romney did, and that is dance around the issue? I'm gonna come out right and say that.
Obama kind of answered yes. He did kind of dance. They both danced around the issue.
There's no avoiding.
They both. But Obama explained it a little bit more. Romney said, I'm just going to hire you, and I'm going to have more private sector jobs.
This is what he said.
What does private sector even mean? What does that mean for Romney? Like, is he going to give jobs to overseas? Because that's what most of his jobs are. With his investments is more overseas.
Right. Mm-hmm. When Romney talks about with the private sector, he's not talking about civil service. He's not talking about directly giving people jobs. He's talking about cutting taxes for these upper class. I don't want to say upper class, but these high income individuals who own these small businesses, who've grown these small businesses from the ground. When you cut their taxes, you're increasing the amount of revenue that they have at their disposal. Now, basically, what I'm trying to say is, and what Governor Romney is stressing is, if businesses have more money, their goal is to make more money, and the way to make more money is to grow. And to grow, more employees, more jobs.
And
it's plain and simple.
So if we do cut the taxes on the upper class, what about the middle class and lower class? Do they get the same treatment?
Well, the middle class and lower class are the people who are going to be receiving these jobs. That's what we're trying to get to.
But
That's
these
at the
jobs
heart of
aren't
it.
guaranteed, though.
Your answer is a good answer, and I wish I would have heard that from Romney, because instead, this is what I heard Romney. I can do this. I know what it takes to get you guys college jobs.
Right. Well, in a
what
sense,
does it take? That's what I would have wanted to hear. I mean, I hope you know what you're doing, because you're being elected candidate for the president. So I hope you do know what you're doing, but I just wanted to hear it.
Right. And you know what? You have a very strong point on that. He should have been a little bit more open to certain viewing audiences like us. We are the youngest generation right now that is going to be potential voters. And that is a huge demographic that you have to appeal to, especially if you're trying to win in these swing states. So right now, we are in a position to potentially affect the outcome of this election. And neither Governor Romney nor President Obama are really aiming their message at our audience. And I think that's kind of what our purpose is here today, to kind of break this down into something that we can understand as peers in a learning environment.
Yes. Does anyone else have any other opinions about the unemployment, or how you feel the presidents will do?
They didn't really give any direct answer for anything about it.
Yes.
It's just well, we know what to do. This is what we can do, but there's nothing there's no definite of what they had to do.
Right.
I feel like
it's pointing fingers.
Yeah. If people do vote for Romney and he ends up in the president,
right.
It's like a gamble with him, because of the fact that Obama, we don't know his actual bills and everything, because look at Congress, mostly Republican.
Right.
So most of his bills that he wants to do is not going to get passed, because he has to compromise. Now with Romney, he's Republican. All what he says he's going to do is going to pass, and that scares me a little bit, because the fact that he's only looking after the upper class, not the middle class and lower class.
You can't say that he's only looking after the upper class. His idea is for America. It's for everyone. It's not just for just because certain groups are getting tax breaks. It's done with the intention.
But look at the past, though. We had Bush, we had Senior Bush.
Look at Reagan. Reagan, trickle-down economics. He did the exact same policy that, not the exact same policy, but a very, very similar type of stimulus, plan for the economy, and it worked great. And look how well the country was going into the Bush senior administration. That was, it's clear that there is a potential for this process to work. So right now, it's really a matter of, is the country going to get behind whatever plan is put forth? I mean, I am a Romney supporter. However, if President Obama
Romney
does,
can't just run a country like it's a company.
Like
The
it's
Like
United
business.
States of
You
America
can't
is
do
not
that.
a business.
okay. Well, if you're thinking about it in those terms of America not being a business, how would you describe America as the economy as not being a business? Generally, the economy of America is intended to export more than we import. That's just the basis of economy and economics in general. Is you want to export, you want to be making money. I mean, right now we're really not exporting very much, and it's a shame. It really is, and that is part of the reason why our economy is so low to the ground.
Well, I personally am not sure who I want to vote for, so the debate is really important for me to watch because it's helping me. And I do feel that the question about college students was answered better by Obama. But I do also feel, and I agree with Ryan, that I feel like it is kind of like a business because it's dealing with money and finance and who's going to put certain money and take it and use it in the right places. And that's why I feel like it can be compared to a business because it all comes down to who's going to open up more jobs for us, who's going to lower gas prices, who's going to take that money and use it for a better place for us to live in. And I feel like Romney
But do you think Romney, okay, if we are going to look at America as a business, do you think Romney is a good businessman? Because apparently
Yes,
most of his
absolutely.
money he gets is from his dad. Because the fact
Don't
that
say that. He built a business up from the
he
ground.
built a
Yeah,
business,
but
yes,
did
but
was his dad the one who was over his shoulder and helping him with the Olympic and financing? Didn't he finance the Olympics?
Yes, he helped balance the budget for the Olympics. He helped balance the budget while he was governor of Massachusetts. Romney has experience in terms of balancing the budget. That is something that you cannot say for President Obama, I'm sorry. You cannot say that about President Obama. Coming into office, President Obama had very, very, very limited experience, and there's no arguing that. Granted, he did do a relatively decent job, bearing that he had no experience. But I think when you look at the facts in terms of what Romney has done in the past, he is in a fantastic position to make changes.
But is the national budget, is the United States budget or the national debt anything similar to balancing the Olympics budget?
Potentially, it's economics. I mean,
Yeah, it's economics, but like it's on a much larger scale where you have the
Absolutely.
But that's
the
like
Olympics is
saying-
like possibly like a few $100 million. Then you have the national budget, which is like about 16 trillion.
absolutely.
Well,
So
would you
you-
trust someone who had more experience, or someone who didn't? And I
But-
feel like Romney has more experience.
But-
It's like we go to college and we learn at schools what we're going to do in the future, but what we do in the future isn't going to be exactly what we learned in college, but we do have the experience, and I would trust someone who has more experience than doesn't.
But you think
Even
that
if it's
because
not
of the scale of it,
exactly a business is America.
but because of the scale of it, you don't think he might possibly even crack under the pressure of it?
Well, you could say that about
it's too
Obama,
early to
too.
say that. It's too early to say.
But
listen,
Obama's been in office much
For 4
longer,
years.
for
He's been-
4
he's been
years.
dealing with it.
So he's been dealing with it. So
Right,
he
but
has
keep
more
in mind-
experience than Romney.
Right.
Romney was governor of Massachusetts. Don't get me wrong, Massachusetts is a very small state, according towards the country, because if you have 50 states, more people, more money he has to deal with.
and a larger demographic, more diverse population. Absolutely.
And I would feel like if he was like a owner of a CEO company, like a Fortune 500 company, something that's doing multiple things at the same time, then I would understand, okay, he does have some experience, but something small compared to the country, something small as Massachusetts and doing a couple of investments in there, it frightens me a little bit.
Well, the only concern I have with that, and this is just to close off, we're kind of beating a dead horse right now.
Yeah, we are.
The last thing I personally want to say is just, coming into office, Obama had even less experience than Romney in terms of economics. He was only he was only the governor. Right, he was only governor for I believe so.
Chicago,
He was only
yeah.
governor for a short time, at least relative to Governor Romney. Romney has the experience in economics. Governor at the time, Governor Obama, got elected essentially under the same, if not weaker, context than Romney would be getting elected right now. So to say that Romney doesn't have the experience as a president is pretty irrational to say because essentially
No one.
nobody would have the experience. But listen, we're beating a dead horse right now. I think if anyone else would like to mention any last words, go for it.
I think we covered pretty much
Absolutely.
about unemployment, and you said that you wanted to talk about Obama mentioning
Libya,
at
absolutely.
too much of a late time in the debate.
Right. Well, being that the tragedy at the American embassy in Libya was not a short time ago.
It was about like
at least I can say
2 months ago, a month and a half, maybe.
a little around there.
Mid-September.
Right. At least I can say personally, I was expecting the president to take a stronger standpoint on it right off the bat. He did. It took a bit of a while for the president to come out and make a statement on Libya whatsoever in the debate, and being that each candidate was pushing forth whatever topic they wanted to push, regardless of the question. I think that became pretty clear that they didn't really care what question was asked. They were going to answer what they wanted to answer. It took a while for President Obama to make a comment about that, and Governor Romney jumped on it. And granted, President Obama did make a pretty strong statement, but he appealed to emotion more than anything else, and that's what I think is important. He appealed to emotion, and it's the same type of thing that got him elected, at least in my opinion, in 2008, was that appeal to emotion, that appeal to the yes we can, attitude, and that was he was driving off similar emotions when he was talking about speaking with the loved ones of the American ambassador, and it's a shame that he didn't take more of a stronger American standpoint in terms of the fact that he is the president of the United States. He is the chief. Somebody help me out. The chief.
A chief and commander-in-chief.
Commander-in-chief. Sorry.
There we go.
The commander-in-chief of the armed forces. You would expect him in such a position to make a little bit more of a powerful statement to the rest of the world.
True, but he doesn't want. He wasn't sure at the time. We weren't sure. He didn't want to say, "Oh, this was a terrorist attack," and it couldn't have been a terrorist attack. It could have been just people rioting because of the film.
Right. Well,
so why would he do that? Say, "Oh, this is a terrorist attack." Go over there, probably kill some, Lebanese or whatever they are, and just come up with like, "Oh, it was just about the film." So we would start basically a war for no reason.
Well, the facts did come out, after the fact that we knew about a planned attack. I mean, these are people showing up to an American embassy with rocket-propelled grenade launchers. This is not a spontaneous act of protest. This was clearly an act that was planned and organized, and that's information that came to light after the fact. And I think during the debate, the moderator made a comment that the President Obama had, in fact, called it an act of terror off the bat, but later on that came to light that he
actually did call it an act of terror.
Well, I unless I'm misinformed here, I don't believe I am, that he was speaking more generally, and that he wasn't speaking to this situation specifically. And that became a matter of semantics, basically, because he's talking about act of terror, but they're taking it out of context and applying it to something, basically to make President Obama look like he, called it what it is right off the bat. And I just don't think that was the case.
I mean, I felt like he did because the fact after he declared it was an act of terror, before it was actually on the transcript, he actually sent over military battleships.
Yeah, he sent over 2 battleships over to Libya.
Which was
Had he
a little
not,
bit too late.
right? Had he not, he would have looked like the weakest, person in power.
No, he said that he
conceivable.
sent that over before the transcript, I think.
Yeah.
From the article I read, he sent it over before the
the
transcript.
second day, like the day after it happened, there were ships on the way.
Yeah,
Right.
just like they weren't. We didn't have foot soldiers on the ground,
Right.
but we had drones in the air scouting the area.
Well,
in the water.
Let me ask a question. This is to everybody. Do you think, based on what we've heard from Governor Romney, do you think that being, a more conservative standpoint, he would have taken a stronger action in the conflict in Libya? Do you think he would have done more? And how do you think the country would have reacted to that?
I feel like he would have done more, but I think it would have been too much, to the point where we're starting a war with Libya for no
Well, it's
reason.
not going to be declared a war unless Congress gets involved. It would be a conflict, before anything else.
But I think we would get to that breaking point where we're about to declare war, or Libya was going to declare war on us.
But you gotta think of it in a standpoint, like, if it happened on our soil, then Obama or anybody who would be president would have immediately sent troops over
Absolutely.
there. But seeing that it happened on foreign soil, that it happened in a foreign embassy, our embassy in a foreign land, that we didn't know all the details, we didn't know who did it, what caused it, if it was any terrorist group, so there would be no probable cause to even go step foot on their soil and attack a specific group for no reason.
Right.
Granted, they might be a terroristic group if like if it was let's say for like on a hunch, if it just kind of happened, if he just sent people over immediately, it might have been on a hunch, but it could have been the wrong people, and then it could have started an even bigger conflict with something.
Right.
It would have been an outbreak.
We're speaking in potentials right now. I mean, chances are they're not putting troops on the ground until we know what the situation is. That's just being smart and using your head. And I think that any president would be smart enough to know that you're not going to send full wave of attack in before you know the facts. But the facts came out a lot earlier than the public would like to appreciate.
Well, before we wrap this show up, I just have a personal question to sway me into who I'm going to pick to vote, who I'm going to vote for. Do you feel that there's anything Obama did in the last 4 years that has personally changed your life for a positive?
Like, what do you mean?
That's a tough question.
That is a tough question.
For anybody.
I mean,
For
it's hard to talk.
Have you seen any change that he has done that affected you?
Well, yeah, I mean, seeing that the economy was really bad and seeing that I almost lost my house in a mortgage crisis, that I was actually able to put back onto it.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
What about you, Nick?
I mean, it's hard to see. I come from a Republican household, so it's a little bit different. It's actually hard to see what he has done so far. But from watching CNN, from watching news, he's done as much as he can do from his position, especially with Congress. I know I keep bringing up Congress, but I feel like that's basically the source.
It is a big issue.
It's a giant issue to whoever's in the House. I mean, who's ever in president. But from what I've heard, I think he's doing a good job. Yes, he's going to need more than 4 years to do what he wants to do because he still has to debate with Congress. He still has to get everything pushed out. Romney, on the other hand, I personally feel like he would be good on the economic side. He would just be good on economy, not as president, just he's the economic advisor for Obama. That's what I feel like.
Well, thank you, Nick, and thank you, Charles, and thank you, Ryan. And thank you, everyone, for watching an edition of SAC News. Whichever president is elected, I hope they bring our economy to the best.
Absolutely.
And have a good night, and I hope you tune in again.